All right, guys. So here we're going to talk about Klaviyo SMS registration and compliance and how to get set up to send SMS campaigns as a brand. Let's get into it. So right away, let's jump into and discuss SMS compliance because it's really important. So SMS is it's more regulated than email in this country, in the US, as well as abroad. And so registration is mandatory. It's not optional. And if you're non-compliant, it could lead to basically being blocked by carriers, messages not going through to your subscribers, and even account suspension, right? And what we mean by carriers in this sense is AT&T's, Verizon's, T-Mobile's out there, right? They're the ones deciding if your message actually gets through. And so what SMS registration means is that you have to register your brand and the use case with these carriers. You're required for A2P, which is it's a 10-digit code in the US. You have to register for that and get that code. And Klaviyo does all the submitting of the information you provide about your company. Klaviyo submits the information. Obviously, you're responsible for the accuracy of that information, and that basically will dictate whether you get approved or rejected. If you reject it, we'll talk about it. It doesn't mean you can't get a number, it just means something's wrong. You just have to clarify it or correct the mistake. And so A2P means application to person. Like I said, it's a 10-digit long code. And the system carriers use this to regulate business texting from a normal phone number, right? So the two required registrations are, again, based on a brand, and then also the campaign and the use case of the registration. Brand registration is who you are as a business, your full business name, your address, phone number, contact person. And then on the campaign side, why are you sending these campaigns? How users opt into your SMS list. And so the use case is a clear explanation. You have to explain this, right? So you're submitting your request. Clear explanation of what types of messages you send and why. And you have to be approved for the phone number, your brand, and the use case before you could be sending any type of SMS campaigns. So brand registration, what you're going to need, again, your legal business name, EIN number or business ID, business address, website URL, industry, contact information. Just to verify who you are. So they're going to check for this information. It's not just submit and nobody looks at it. They're actually going to check that information, make sure it's accurate. And then on the campaign and usage registration side, you want to tell these carriers basically the message purpose. Is it marketing? Is it transactional? Is it updates? Is it both or all of the above? An example of such a message, an opt-in method. How are your subscribers opting in? An opt-out language, how they can opt out, as well as the expected message frequency. Is this going to be once a week, twice a month? How often are you sending these campaigns? And so transactional versus marketing campaigns in terms of email and SMS, it's the same. Transactions, order updates, right? Shipping, account notices, things like that. And then marketing is promotion, sales. And so you have to clarify, right? Consent rules are non-negotiable. So like you have to have explicit opt-in from people before you can actually send out SMS campaigns. So the consent must be clear, that it has to be intentionally done, so documented. There's no pre-checked boxes anywhere. There's no email to SMS assumption, like someone's opted in to email, they must be also opted in automatically to SMS. It doesn't work that way. Each one of those is a separate opt-in process. There needs to be explicit opt-in method. So the user knowingly agrees to opt into your SMS list. It's not implied, it's not bundled, and nothing's assumed, right? Okay, so valid opt-in methods. So what are they? So common compliant opt-in methods are a web form with a clear disclosure language. So you have your web form, you have your subscribe to this newsletter, you get 10% off, etc. And then you have an email field, you have a first name field, and then that's your email subscribe form. You could have the SMS as a next step. So when they subscribe to that, the next step that they're presented with could be the continuation of that form for SMS subscription. And so there on that SMS subscription page, you have a specific language at the bottom that says, that's the disclosure part. That's really important. You have to have that, what they're signing into or subscribing to. And then in the checkout page of Shopify, for example, you could also have the language there where people can actually opt in for SMS messages to be sent to them, whether it's for their orders or if it's for campaigning. You could do that at the checkout page. And then you can also have a keyword opt-in. So you could say, send a SMS message with this word to this number, like join. And then you're saying join to this number, you're automatically going to get signed in, subscribed, and then you get about SMS text message confirmation, etc., all that stuff. So those are the ways, right? Web form, check-in, the checkout, opt-in page, and then the keyword method. But you have to basically clearly explain what the user is signing up for in all those scenarios. The required disclosure language. So every SMS opt-in form, page, wherever you're displaying this to capture their phone number, has to have this disclosure that you're subscribing to SMS messages, the message frequency, right? The message and data rates will apply, how to opt out, link to privacy policy page on your website, link to TNS on your website as well. So this disclosure is a legally required information shown before a user opts in. Opt out and help requirements now. So all SMS programs have to have a way for somebody to opt out. Usually it's stop. So if they text stop, immediately you have to honor that and you have to remove them from your list. If they text help, then you could figure out what you want to show when somebody types in help, right? But carriers enforce these keywords. These commands must work automatically. There's no manual handling of this in any way. And Klaviyo will take care of this for you. So content rules and restricted categories. So there are certain things that you cannot do, right? So carriers are going to restrict or prohibit certain types of behaviors, right? Deceptive, misleading content being sent out, illegal products or services, shaft categories, excessive and abusive frequency. What is a shaft category? It's kind of a weird name, but anything about sex, hate, alcohol, firearm, tobacco, you can't. They're heavily restricted niches, right? Depending on the context, but you're going to have issues if you're sending out campaigns about this type of stuff. You're going to have problems on SMS campaigns. So SMS versus MMS. Let's talk about this, choosing the right message. So text-only message, which is SMS, 160 characters per segment. Longer messages are split, 2-3 different sequential messages per recipient. Carriers may reassemble them, but the delivery is not basically guaranteed, right? But so you want to keep these at 160 characters as much as possible. And so these are best for short, urgent, like transactional messages to customers. MMS was rich media. It means basically it's got emojis in there. It's got maybe a picture in there or a GIF. It's not just text. And usually it's more than 160 characters. It does cost more. And so it's best for specific promotions that you want to utilize these for that have visuals in them. And yeah, avoid like forcing long copy into SMS simply to figure out a way to cut costs. If you want to use a MMS, if it makes sense for MMS, use it, but just sparingly. Know that it costs more. Approval timeline and what to expect. So once you apply with your business info, your use case, and applying for the phone number and everything, Klaviyo is going to review that. Carriers are going to review that after submission. Takes about a couple of days could take weeks, but typically doesn't take that long. It's just a few days to a maximum week, I think I've seen. You're going to get either an approval, you're going to get a request for clarification or rejection with some kind of feedback as to what it is that you have to fix. Just because you reject it doesn't mean that you can't fix whatever they need, right? So you just update and clarify. Second time you submit, usually that takes care of it. So sender reputation and ongoing compliance. So now let's say you're approved and you registered, you're approved, everything's great. That doesn't mean you forget about everything we just talked about as far as the quality of the content, the cadence, the timing, and all that stuff. Carriers are going to pay attention to that. Klaviyo is going to pay attention to that. And so opt-out rates, how are your opt-out rates? Are people just constantly opting out? That means you didn't give them the adequate, I don't say reason, but opportunity to opt in themselves, force them into it. Spam complaints from customers, engagement with the customers. Are they opening? Are they looking at your text messages? Are they clicking? Are they engaging with the content? And then the frequency, consistency, right? We said once a month. Now you're sending every other day or every day, twice a day. So all that stuff matters to keep the reputation going, right? It's like your credit score, like on the email campaigns we've talked about. So let's go ahead and take a look at Klaviyo real quick. I'm going to show as much as I can possibly show because I've already registered or tried to register. So if we go to settings, okay. All right, in the settings, in the text message section, typically what happens is if you don't see this, it just means that you've never actually submitted the information. I've already done this a couple times on this account. That's why I'm here. But when you click on text message, you're going to see a page where it's a lot of information there, but there's a link that says essentially register for SMS or start, something like that, right? It's a button. You click on that and it starts the process. And basically what it is that you have to apply for fill out your business information. So I'm going to select the toll-free number here. So you're going to pick a country wherever you're at, pick the toll-free, which is free. You're going to be able to text customers in the US and Canada with this phone number once it's approved. The two-way messaging will be included, but it's just not a customized number. You can't pick your number here. These options, short code instead of a phone number, it just costs more. It's $500 a month just for that. On top of everything else you're paying for in Klaviyo, this will be on top of that. It's a 5-digit phone number essentially, and then vanity short code, even more expensive, right? I don't think most people need this. So toll free, next. And so you're going to fill out your contact information. So first name, last name, email, etc., phone number, country, address, city. You don't have to do the forwarding here, and click submit. Once you submit this information, then now that's your business information. You've asked for a toll-free number for US and Canada already. So that information goes to Klaviyo, it goes to carriers. Whatever number is available, randomly picked for a toll-free number, they're going to pick it and they're going to assign it once your business and use case is approved. Those two will be merged together, and then you'll get an approval letter or an email notification as well in Klaviyo, and then it will show up here. Okay, when you come to the sender information section, you'll see the phone number here. You'll see the information here. Once you have that information, obviously make sure this company info is correct. Your logo is correct in the SMS message add-ons. Make sure the company name, it doesn't say company name. Actually put your company name there. And then the opt-out language, which is text stop, right? It's already set up for you. Just verify all this information. And then go to sender preferences and start understanding what this means. This is really important. Like smart sending means basically that whatever the 24-hour period, you could change this if you wanted to, but I would leave it at default for SMS. For campaigns and flows, if people have already received a campaign or a flow from you within the last 24 hours, you don't want to keep sending them more, right? So smart sending is checking for that information per recipient. And so it prevents them from getting more than one message from you, whether it's a campaign or a flow, per day. All right. And then there's such things as quiet hours. A lot of times I personally get text messages early in the morning, like 3 o'clock in the morning, 2 in the morning. And it just I get really pissed off because these guys are not following these rules. And I can actually file a federal complaint against them if I really wanted to. And so there are quiet hours in the US and abroad. And just make sure you take a look at where your customer base is. If they're all over the US, you have to understand how Florida operates, how Nevada, Texas, and all the other states operate in the US. Basically, these are the quiet times. You cannot send flows or SMS campaigns during these periods. You can send it outside, right? So 8:01 a.m. until 8:59 p.m. or whatever, but nothing in between. I would leave this on checked because unsubscribed known SMS litigators means that Klaviyo does a couple things. They check to see whether some phone number that is registering to receive SMS campaigns from you is or has in the past been part of a litigation lawsuit. In other words, have they been part of a class action lawsuit or any kind of lawsuit that the complaint was basically about receiving SMS campaigns, etc. So they're already pissed off. They don't want these people part of anybody's campaign as much as possible. So they're removing them for you, okay, automatically. The second thing they check is to see whether the phone number is mobile phone number or is it a landline. If it's a landline, you obviously can't text message landlines and you're going to be wasting your credits. So they remove any phone number that's a landline number. So that's a really good feature. I think it's really cool that they're doing this. Texas, I don't know what's going on with Texas law. They seem to be really strict over there. So if you've got a lot of customers in Texas, if you're based out of Texas, so I would pay attention to this and maybe turn this on. From promotional stuff, you could have it set. You can basically send transactional messages, SMS messages, but for promotional stuff, it seems like they're really strict over there. So I would check that out. And then state law frequency limits. Some of these states have like specific frequency limits, like 24-hour period, which we talked about. And so this is enabled by default just to protect you even more, right? Keyword responses. Once the sender information and your phone number, everything is approved, you can come back here and you could add no compliance keywords for two-way numbers, two-way communication, and then no subscribe keyword. I can't add any of these right now. It just doesn't work when the sender information is not updated. So I can't show you anything. But the subscribe link, same thing. If I click add number, it's going to come back to this. So keyword and subscribe, these two sections for sure, you got to come back after sender information is complete. Terms of service, you could do that now. If you don't have mobile terms of service created, you could use this to create that. Same thing for SMS opt-in disclosure. You're going to need this information in the forms, and we talked about it in the checkout section. If you are implementing that, you need to put this language there, the opt-in disclosure. All right, so with that, let me go back to the presentation. So basically what we talked about is a brand registration fields and the process, the use case details, the opt-in description, example message requirement, etc., and then the submission and review process, right? So a couple days, you go through this, submit, you get approved, and you're up and running basically in a few days. Final takeaways. Yeah, so just SMS requires registration and discipline. So once you're registered, you're approved. Once again, you have to maintain that expectation because the carriers as well as Klaviyo are going to pay attention to what you're doing on SMS. It is more strict than emails. Okay, so just if you take away anything, learn that piece. And so with that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Thanks.